Welcome to Movies in the Making. In today's episode, we are going to be looking at the 2002 animated sci-fi film Lilo and Stitch, released by Walt Disney Pictures and directed by Sanders and DeBlois. Here, we will dive deep into the story of the production of this film. The film itself was first conceived as a children's book that Sanders later realized would work better as a feature film. Not only that, but the film was made with a smaller budget and by an apparent B team, yet still had so much work done there. The film even became one of the most successful products from Disney, so now we should look into how it all began. If you would like to hear about how more films were done behind the scenes, please like down below and subscribe to this channel for more videos. Now, sit back and enjoy the show. You're all in for a cute ride. Sanders originally conceived Lilo and Stitch as a children's book about a strange creature living in the forest who just wanted to belong. The idea lingered for years until, in the late 90s, Disney was looking to scale back from their increasingly massive productions. At a company retreat in 1997, the idea was floated: let's make the Dumbo for our generation, a smaller, more personal, director-driven film that would return creative control to the animators. Sanders pitched the idea, which still took place in a forest filled with animals. But creative execs pushed him to rethink the setting. An alien among animals was not nearly as compelling as an alien among humans. Inspired by a vacation, Sanders shifted the story to Hawaii. He began pulling names from a roadmap, like Lilo and Nani, and then locked himself in a hotel room to transform the idea into a visual pitch. He drew concept art, built a model of Stitch from crab shells and glass eyes, and essentially created a handmade storybook to sell the vision. Disney loved it on one condition: the film had to be made at their lesser-known Florida animation studio, far from the corporate oversight in Burbank. That studio had previously helped bring Mulan to life and was filled with young, ambitious artists hungry to prove themselves. Sanders and DeBlois took on the project as co-directors, creating a heartfelt sci-fi story with a deeply human core. Though it began with alien chaos in deep space, the real magic of Lilo and Stitch was in its emotional simplicity. A story about found family, loneliness, and love, made off the grid, on a smaller budget and away from executive interference. Lilo and Stitch became one of the most beloved Disney films of the early 2000s. Its strange, beautiful mix of quirky design, watercolor backdrops, and emotional honesty still resonates with audiences today. In the late 90s and early 2000s, Disney was bogged down by bloated productions and heavy executive oversight, creating an environment where creative risks often got lost in layers of corporate notes and rewrites. Sanders had experienced firsthand how brutal the process could be. He recalled failed pitches, awkward meetings with high-level execs, and screening room disasters that left lasting scars, like when Michael Eisner completely missed the emotional climax of The Lion King. That is why producing Lilo and Stitch at Disney's Florida studio was so liberating. Tucked away from Burbank, the team was left largely to their own devices, free from the usual interference. Executive Tom Schumacher played a key role in shielding the project, often deflecting attention from the upper management by saying it wasn't ready yet. The Florida team felt like a secret squad, building something special off the grid, the equivalent of a spy plane in a secret hangar, as Sanders put it. The isolation gave him the freedom to take creative chances and develop a quirky, emotionally rich story that would never have survived a standard Disney approval pipeline. The animation process behind Lilo and Stitch was shaped by a desire to return to simpler, more intimate filmmaking amid Disney's era of big-budget productions. Director Sanders and DeBlois pushed for a smaller, story-driven film that would thrive on a tighter budget and creative independence. Originating from Sanders' old children's book idea, the film was adapted to a Hawaiian setting, with care taken to engage local culture respectfully. Telling the story in Hawaii not only grounded the film emotionally, but also helped contrast its quirky alien plot with a deeply human story about family and belonging. Unlike other Disney projects at the time, Lilo and Stitch was made almost entirely at Disney's lesser-known Florida studio within Walt Disney World, allowing the team to operate under the radar and avoid excessive studio interference. Visually, the film stood out due to its embrace of old-fashioned techniques. Instead of relying heavily on CGI, it used watercolor backgrounds, a style not seen since Dumbo, 1941, to complement Sanders' soft, round character designs. This unique aesthetic helped differentiate the film from other contemporary animations. The Florida animators, initially underestimated, brought energy and dedication that proved crucial in executing Sanders' vision. The film's production remained largely hidden from Disney executives until it was nearly complete, a deliberate strategy to avoid disruptive notes. Leading to limitations like no shadows or detailed clothing, the team managed inventive solutions, such as staging scenes in natural shade. The character design of Stitch was conceived by Sanders. When Disney sought to produce a smaller budget animated film in the early 2000s, Sanders was approached to develop the idea, leading him to adapt his old character for a feature. Originally set in Kansas, the story was relocated to the Hawaiian island of Kauai, a decision that significantly influenced the film's direction and tone, adding depth through the concept of ohana, or extended family, a theme central to Stitch's transformation from a destructive alien to a loving family member. The film's visual style was also distinct. Sanders' personal art style shaped the character and set designs, while watercolor painted backgrounds, rarely used since the early Disney classics like Dumbo, evoked a storybook aesthetic. Production constraints led to simplified animation techniques, such as avoiding detailed clothing and using shadows sparingly. The animators also drew inspiration from marine life for the design of the alien technology. After 9/11, a major scene involving a hijacked 747 had to be rewritten and reanimated to replace the plane with an alien ship. Sanders voiced Stitch largely on practicality. He initially recorded the voice as a temporary track during storyboarding, but chose to keep doing it to avoid studio pressure to give the character more dialogue. Since Stitch was only meant to speak in gibberish or very limited English and Hawaiian, Sanders feared that hiring a professional actor might prompt demands for a more conventional speaking role, which would disrupt the film's tone. Though not originally intended to perform the final voice, Sanders treated the recording session seriously, telling DeBlois that he would act while DeBlois directed, with the option to recast if it did not work out. The result was a memorable and fitting voice performance that stayed true to the character's intended minimalism. The experience also taught Sanders valuable lessons in directing voice actors. Helping him better communicate intent without overstepping into line readings. Sanders and DeBlois were keenly aware that, as outsiders, they had no business in telling a Hawaiian story without care, respect, and authenticity. While setting the film in Hawaii, they committed to extensive research and collaboration with local communities to avoid turning the islands into just another exotic backdrop. Their trips to Hawaii deeply influenced the film's visuals, music, and story. The team observed everything from the island's vibrant natural colors to the unique architecture and even the behavior of local school children, incorporating these details into the animation. Artists painted landscapes on location to accurately capture the region's palette, while animators like Andreas Deja visited schools to say how kids moved and interacted. Real-life encounters, like a spirited young woman with a ukulele who inspired a rethinking of Nani's character, helped ground the film in authentic local energy. DeVay Chase, who voiced Lilo, brought unexpected horror credentials to the beloved Disney film. At just 12 years old, Chase had already built an impressive resume, including her roles as Donnie's sister Samantha in Donnie Darko, Near-Market Films 2001. In 2002, the same year she voiced Lilo, she also starred as the terrifying Samara Morgan in The Ring. DreamWorks Pictures 2002, the American remake of the iconic Japanese horror film. Though her performance as the haunting girl in the cursed videotape became a defining horror image of the decade, Chase was equally celebrated for bringing emotional depth and charm to Lilo, a spirited Hawaiian girl dealing with loss and loneliness. She continued voicing Lilo in various sequels and a spin-off series, while her acting career included a role in HBO's Big Love. Securing the rights to use Elvis Presley's music in the film was no small feat, as any depiction or mention of Elvis required explicit approval from his estate. The filmmakers had built a central part of Lilo's character around her obsession with Elvis. They realized they had shown, referenced, imitated, and altered his songs, actions that all required separate permissions. To their relief, after screening the film, the Presley estate granted full approval, allowing original recordings of hits like Hound Dog and Suspicious Minds to be used. They even embraced the film's modern take by premiering a new cover of Burning Love, performed by Winona Judd. What began as a creative gamble ultimately added emotional depth and quirky charm to the film, reinforcing its heartfelt tone and helping it stand out among Disney's more traditional musicals. Alan Silvestri became the composer for the film somewhat unexpectedly, as the film was not initially intended to be music-heavy due to its smaller budget and non-musical format. Early in production, Work-in-progress scenes were temporarily paired with music from Silvestri's past scores, and the filmmakers found that his blend of whimsy and sincerity perfectly captured the tone they aimed for. Sanders and DeBlois felt strongly that if they could get Silvestri on board, it would elevate the film's emotional core. When approached, Silvestri agreed to join the project, and his involvement helped shape the soundtrack's balance between emotional resonance and cultural authenticity. His collaboration also led to the inclusion of traditional Hawaiian music, working alongside local artists like Mark Keeley Iho Omalo to create a musical backdrop that honored the setting while complementing the film's unique charm. As of the 16th of May, 2025, Lilo Stitch is an 86% critics rating on Rotten Tomatoes, a 74 out of 100 critic score on Metacritic, a 7.3 rating on IMDb, and a 4.0 rating on Letterboxd. The film's budget was $80 million and it grossed over $273 million following its initial release date of 21st of June 2002. The film's commercial success has resulted in 3 animated direct-to-DVD sequels and 3 spin-off TV shows. And that wraps up our deep dive into the making of Lilo and Stitch. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to stay updated on all things Movies in the Making. Let us know in the comments what you think of Lilo and Stitch, or if you have any favorite moments from that film we did not touch upon, or what films you would like to hear covered by this channel. Also, be sure to check out our community page, where we announce what films will be talked about by this channel each week. New posts arrive every Friday. Or Saturday, if we forget to post on Friday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time on Movies in the Making, where we'll be talking about Braveheart, Paramount Pictures' 1995, and more films to follow along the way. Tune in for more Movies in the Making as we uncover the stories behind cinema's most unforgettable films. This has been Jason Scotchmer, film enthusiast and passionate about the arts.